The door stays sealed. I used to think guard duty was just boredom with a rifle. Corridors that smell like floor wax, badge readers that pretend to be important, a chair that learns your spine. I'm 25, E3 on nights at a concrete facility you can't find on any map. My post is outside a blast door at the end of a short, mean hallway. The brass calls it Room Kilo Zero. My job is simple: check IDs, sign the log, keep the camera feed honest, and never, under any circumstance, open Kilo Zero. Extra rules from the sergeant of the guard: Donda look through the inspection port. Don't acknowledge knocks. And if the access panel offers you a confirm, you tell it no. He laughed like it was a hazing. The laugh didn't stick. By 22:40, the building had settled into one long breath. The air handlers hummed. The vending machine in the day room kept time with its compressor. The fluorescent ballast in the hallway clicked like a metronome that needed coffee. On my desk, the label printer we used to tag visitors chattered on its own and spit a narrow strip with no barcode, no name, just "Do not unseal." Along the edge, ghost gray numbers that weren't the hour. 3:13 am. The wall clock pretended innocence. I stuck the strip under the lip of the monitor because paper makes superstition behave. The first odd thing was polite. 2 knuckles. On the blast door, measured, not echo, not metal cooling. Policy says you log but you don't answer. I put acoustic anomaly in neat letters and let the ink dry. The access panel beside the door lit from sleep. It's a ruggedized tablet with a fingerprint I'll never give it. The screen offered a card I hadn't called. Authorize Kilo Zero inspection? Under it, soft blue. Double tap to confirm. 2 tiny hearts pulsing like somebody thought humor belonged here. I hit cancel. The screen thought about disobedience for one long breath and corrected itself. The intercom box 1 clicked. We keep it on to hear the day shift sing off key. Tonight, a voice slid out slow and careful, like each word was being lowered into place by 2 fingers. Don't open. Not the sergeant, not anyone I could rank. The kind of voice museums use to teach you not to touch bones. I did rounds because legs like the lie that movement is control. The camera over my shoulder showed the hallway behind me. The hallway showed me, and in the reflection on the blast door, brushed steel, I saw my head and another head. A half-beat behind, tilted toward my ear, mouth parted like it had reached the first half of Don't Hey. I blinked. Steel remembered it was steel. At 23:11, the printer on the log table coughed and fed me a receipt I hadn't earned. Leave the door sealed. The edges were damp, like letters that sweated. The timestamp in the footer read 3:3, and then, embarrassed, remembered local time. The inspection port is the size of a playing card, backed by glass the thickness of a fist. Rule 1 says never look through it. I didn't. I got close enough to smell the cold that lives there and watched a handprint bloom in fog on the inside. 5 long ovals and a round heel, and our slide. Down a polite inch before it thinned. My face shield answered a second late with my own breath. I told the port, no, and it pretended it hadn't heard. The radio on my chest hissed and borrowed my mouth. I'm here. It said in my cadence, the one I use when I lie about being calm. Then, that careful wait again through the intercom. Leave it sealed. I stepped back until the blast door fit into my whole vision and became a rule. At 23:37, the building changed its mind about sound. Not quieter. Aligned. Air handler, vending machine, the faint transformer hum behind the exit sign. Everything breathed on the same beat for a count of 8. In that held chord, the blast door, dogs shivered. Against their seats, like a sleeper scratching, and remembered themselves. The access panel woke itself again. Resume 313 cycle? It asked, as if we'd been doing that our whole lives. Double tap to confirm. With those hearts like a dare. I turned the screen off with my knuckle. It turned itself on, stayed blue for a slow breath, and then quit like it had learned obedience from a book. The CCTV feed blinked. Kilo Zero's camera is a lie. We all know it points at a wall. For one frame, it showed a room of concrete and a height of darkness like water. In the far right, a tilted head. The suggestion of a mouth parted like it had reached the first half of or dawn or. The next frame was black box, no signal, and then the wall again. At 0003, the knock came again. Tap, tap, and traveled down the hinges to my hand on the desk like a pulse. The pen I wasn't holding rolled toward the door as if gravity had opinions. I wrote, "No response. Per SOP," and underlined, "Per SOP," like it gave me rank. My phone in the breast pocket I'm not supposed to have vibrated. A text from a unknown read, "Confirm relief at 3:13? The little hearts pulsed. The tiny map under it placed the dot behind the blast door, then inside my chest, then I turned the phone off. It stayed awake long enough to flip the lock screen to 3:13 and back like a muscle twitch. At 0019, the sergeant pinged. "Status?" I typed, "Green minor anomalies," and watched the message timestamp itself. 3:03, before settling on 019. As if time were a bureaucrat covering tracks. He wrote back, "Printer's old, which is the blessing supervisors keep for nights they don't have to see. The corridor's motion lights do what lights do when they reboard. Wake for a fly, nap for a human. They woke, napped, and then for one full second, went bright as noon. In the reflection on the door, a palm mic pressed from the wrong side and slid. An inch like gravity had just been taught a new trick. The intercom took a breath and said, "Don't go down. There is no down past this door that we admit aloud." At 0041, the building did the one-note trick again. Aligned. Until my teeth felt counted and released. I stood because sitting felt like negotiation. The blast door lever has a safety cap you could anchor a boat with. It nudged a hair toward open under its own weight or another idea. I set my palm on it firm enough to teach a lesson. From the other side, a pressure match teased me. Polite, not urgent, like a hand through anything asking if we agree on rules. I didn't look through the port. I did the brave thing that isn't tea and walked to the water fountain outside the day room. In the curved stainless over the spout, my face stretched into something other people might trust. Behind it, for a single frame. A head that leaned into my ear, with a mouth practicing a word it would not say. I drank warm metal and rules until the fountain wheezed. At 0106, the elevator 2 hallways over chimed wrong, lower, slower, like a bell underwater. The car stopped on my floor and didn't open. The Meta's access panel. Beside the blast door glowed without power input and offered a new card. Override accepted. Beneath it, smaller. Leave sealed, and a number ID never seen on our network map. Station. The C double tap. Hearts pulsed once like a small animal and died. The label printer purred a third strip into my palm. Do not acknowledge knocks. The edge was wet enough to bead. I slid it into the log like paper was armor. At 0141, the camera over my shoulder showed the hallway behind me, and for one frame. A handos covered the lens, 5 ovals and a heel, then pulled away, leaving a smear that didn't exist until it did. The intercom tried kindness. Leave it closed. My own voice came through the radio, wrong by a half breath. I am here, and I wasn't a T. I wrote "Quiet Night" in the book because someone above my pay grade likes to see that phrase printed in blue ink. The letters looked wet after they dried. The blast door gave one patient tap, tap, exact to the beat of my pulse, then went quiet as stone. At 3:13, because some hours volunteer for hard jobs, every light on my floor flickered together. The air handler and the vending machine and the exit sign hummed the same before, one note. And the access panel cleared its screen on its own. The inspection port fog thinned, and forgot how to be touch. The pressure under my hand eased like a person conceding a point after a long argument. Dawn in places like this isn't light. It's coffee. The sergeant came with a mug and the face of a man who counts nights in other people's eyes. "Quiet?" he asked. "Mostly," I said, and slid him the damp-edged strips. He frowned at, "Do not unseal." Like it was a code and not a sentence. "Printer's old," he decided. The manager spell for whatever needs not to be real. He tapped the port with a knuckle like a doctor listening to lungs, listened to the place no sound lives, and nodded as if a number matched something on a clipboard. They rotated me to days after that. I say it's for the sun. Some nights in my apartment, the hallway, knocks twice. 3.13. Like a polite post calling the next watch. And the peephole glass, fogs, a thumb width higher than I can blow and about palm bore, clears a coin-sized circle from the wrong side and slides. An inch before the glass remembers manners. When it does, I keep my hand off the latch and say, in the steady voice Kylo Zero taught me, the door stays sealed. For a long, thin moment, the wood cools under my palm, as if another hand has matched mine through it, and agreed. The building breathes one note like a corridor connected to bigger rooms. And whatever has been practicing my name from the other side mouth parted on the first half of "don't" chooses someone else's post and leaves mine to be just a hallway with a job I can write down.
If you survived this far, leave your like to prove you are not afraid.